Okay, so now I don't know. I think this is a new one, but I don't know if I ended the last one, so I have no idea what's happening. Um, so this is going to be fun. This is sent to challenge us. We're just putting everything into practice. So hopefully you'll be coming across. Like I say, if anything weird happens, then generally just leave that one, and there'll be a new feed. Let me just see. Just checking. Okay. This is always going to be so much fun. I'm not sure why it's happening. Someone said that the network's just been overloaded because they've taken the caps off of everyone's data limits. So I think maybe it's just struggling in this area. But hopefully we'll get it back. Okay. So I don't know if the other one's still running or not. So I don't know if this is just taken over or if there's another one. Okay, this always makes me need yoga. These. Okay, well, I'm really hoping that everyone can find me again. If it drops out, just come out. I'll start another one. It's not ideal, but actually, when you think of what we're doing, connecting through all different countries and all different places, it's still pretty cool. Okay, so hopefully everyone will come join. So today we're going to deal with flexibility. And obviously, yoga is associated with flexibility. And often when we think of that, we think of touching our toes or kind of stretching out, maybe in the splits, which definitely is involved in yoga in the physical side of things. But what we want to look at as well is our flexible in our approach and our attitude. So just being a bit more flexible and adaptable, especially, I mean, generally always we should kind of try to expand and be more willing to adapt. But now more than ever, we need to be less rigid in our approach. So just grounding yourself down, sitting comfortably, so something under your hips, against the wall, however you find your comfortable seat. And then when you're ready, just closing your eyes, focusing on your breath. And to begin with, just relax. There may be some tension in your shoulders and your face. We're keeping a long spine, but we don't want any tension. So just relaxing and releasing into that position. So if you're just joining now, we're just starting our breathing. Just taking your attention inwards. And then I'd like you to activate or cultivate your Ujjayi breath, so your ocean breath, where we try to restrict our throat. And it's a breath as if we're trying to fog up glass. So it's an audible sound, but we'd like to close the mouth so it comes in and out through the nose. So it slows your breath down as if it's almost like a grasping kind of sound. It's called the ocean breath because it sounds like an ocean. Just allowing that to fall into a rhythm. With every exhale, just releasing any tension. With every inhale, breathing a little deeper. Try to close your eyes, or just have a soft gaze on one point. Try to avoid your eyes roaming around, so slowly we can stop the mind roaming around. If there are thoughts that keep appearing, just acknowledge them, but then actively put them to one side. We're not ignoring them forever, we just don't need to deal with them right now. I'd now like to switch your breath to a tiptoe breath. So I want you to breathe in and breathe out through the nose. But this time, whereas before we were really kind of dragging through our throat, I want you to imagine you're trying to tiptoe that breath in. So it barely touches the side. You're still breathing deeply and exhaling deeply, but it's just very gentle breath. Really delicate breath. So we don't want to hear this breath. It's just slowly creeping into the body and slowly tiptoeing back out. With your eyes closed, just allowing your breath to return to a normal rhythm. So flexibility is defined by the quality of bending without breaking. So a willingness to change and compromise. We can still stay committed to our part, but just being flexible in our approach. So through this session, we're going to try to cultivate flexibility in our body and in our minds. So with your next inhale, just reaching those up, big stretch up. Bringing the palms together, lowering the hands in front of your heart. Namaste. Let's begin. Thank you guys for finding me. So I don't know that we're out of the woods yet. So if it ever cuts down, I'll just stop and start another one. So if it cuts out, just come back out and then find the new one. So removing, if you had anything under your hips, just moving that out. We're going to come into a bound angle. So this is soles of the feet together. So this, you're trying to get your heels as close to the body as you can, but it's early, so we're not putting too much pressure on that. If you can, cupping around your toes, and then just taking a few times, just kind of open up and down. So little butterflies fluttering. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you're here and this is your movement, totally fine. If you're lower, again, equally fine. Trying to not round the lower back, so trying to sit up straight. So maybe even pulling on the toes to help lengthen the spine. And then instead of just fluttering, I want you to push down and let the legs spring up. So you're pushing down and they just kind of release back up. So just do that a few times, trying to open up those hips. Good. And then on your next one, holding down. Big breath in, big breath out. Good, release. Let's go into our first pose. Our cow face pose, I'm not sure why. So I'd like you to bend your right knee, so the knee's facing forwards, and then we're going to take the left leg over the top. So again, just listening to your body always, just going where your body can go. So it may be that it's kind of cross legs with your foot on top, maybe a little higher still, and eventually, mine aren't quite in line, but we're trying to get the knees on top of each other, feet to the side, and trying to sit equally between your sitting bones. So you may find you want to lean to one side or the other. So try and ground down. Now our cow face arms, oh sorry, I should have said this at the beginning. We're going to do the up and over. So if you want to, you can get your yoga mat strap or a sock or something to kind of bridge the gap. The alternative is, so we've got our left leg on top, you're going to have your right arm on top and drop the arm behind. So this is one of the options, is to just pull on that elbow and you're resisting the hand with the elbow, so it's a push and pull. So if you want to take that one further, you can try to bring your arm behind. If there's almost ever a little gap, if you have something like a strap that you can hold in one hand, hold in the other, and then you're trying to bring the elbows behind, or if you can reach, then interlocking your hands. So whichever one, there's no ego, so wherever you feel the stretch, just go there. So whichever one you're in, trying to bring your elbows behind, squeeze the shoulder blades together and sit up. Good. Big inhale, and as you exhale, turn in towards your left side. Inhale back to center. Release the arms, push the walls away. And then we're going to come into eagle arm. So I'd like you to bring your left arm under your right, and we're bending around. So again, this is our first option. So holding onto your shoulder blades, trying to open the shoulder blades. If you can try and grab. It can be on the wrist, on the palms. Eventually, we'd like to get our palms together, but they come to wherever they are. So again, try and sit equally between your sit bones. Pull your shoulder blades away, and then lifting up with your elbows. So on this one, we're really tempted to just arch our lower back. So I want you to bring your core. So imagine you're trying to get your belly button as close to your spine as you can to protect that lower back. And then take your gaze up. So without adjusting, just be aware of where you're breathing to at the moment. Probably gone quite shallow because we feel a bit restricted. So I want you to actively override that natural breath. Big breath in, because our stomach's got loads of space. So really breathe down into your stomach. Good. Oh, release out. Nice big stretch out again. And release down. Before we come to the other side, I'd like to uncross that leg. We're going to come into frog pose. So this one, depending on, I've carpet and quite a thick mat, so that it doesn't hurt my knees, but you could put a blanket underneath or cushions. We're going to be on our knees, so just in case that's a bit sore. So we're trying to get our knees as wide as they're happy to go, and I want your feet directly behind your knees. Your feet will want to kind of come inwards. We want them directly behind. When you've gone as far as you can, gently coming down, and then pushing your hips back slightly. So you should really, this is quite an uncomfortable, I don't know anyone that enjoys the frog. So wherever you are, so again, if you're here, this is totally fine. As long as you're at your edge and you can feel the stretch, that's all we need. So whilst you're in this position and as you breathe in, the tension should fade slightly. If it does, you can try and push back slightly more or gently trying to expand your legs. If you can, just looking down so your neck's long in line with your spine, and breathe in deeply. So we're going to hold this for a little longer because we want to get a really deep stretch here. But rather than trying to distract yourself away from this, I want you to really go into what you can feel. So what can you feel? What stretch? Where exactly is that? Really try and isolate and find that stretch. And what do you think that is? Is that skin? Is it muscle? Is it tendons, ligaments? We're really trying to feel into that sensation. Okay, gently, gently bring your ankles in, bring weight back up onto your hands, and slowly bring those knees in. Do that nice and gently. Good, and then we're going to go to the other side. So I'd like you to bring your left knee forwards and your right leg over the top. So again, you should notice a difference on each side. Despite looking symmetrical, we've got these nice little nuances, so our sides are different. So again, just finding where you can go on that side. Trying to ground down. Good, and then this time, it's our left arm comes up. So again, either holding the elbow, reach around using the strap, or grab it with your fingers. So on this side, actually, I'm just going to open up here. And then just opening up the shoulders. So you're squeezing the shoulder blades together, so we're really kind of opening up around the front. Focusing on your breath. So you could try to do the Ujjayi breath or the tiptoe breath, but just keep them long and steady. Good, taking an inhale, and this time we're exhaling. Wait, which one did we do last time? Have I just done the same side again? Let me think. It was right leg forward, left leg over. Okay, I've got myself in the right pickle there. So I think we're turning to the right side. Inhale back to center, stretch the arms out. Big stretch. And then this time, right arm under left. Reaching around again. The option's always there to hold the shoulders, pulling the shoulder blades apart, or try and bring your palms together. Sitting tall, and then reaching up. Engage those core muscles. Try to get your breath steady. Good, and release, or big reach up. Exhale to release. So uncrossing the legs. I'm just going to sit down in child pose. So just resting back. So child pose is used for a number of different things. So you can reach the arms forwards. So it's our resting pose generally. So curling up, feeling safe. But we are always trying to stretch as well. We're lengthening our spine. So nice one to stretch your lower back and your hips. So a more active stretch is pushing the palms of the hands away. So you're really trying to get your hips to your heels. Relaxing there. So again, 2 breaths, either Ujjayi, your ocean breath, or your tiptoe breath. So if you joined a bit later, the tiptoe breath is just breathing deeply, but trying to make no sound. So as if it's creeping into your body, creeping out again on tiptoes. But it's just as deep. On your next inhale, just lifting the hips up, keeping the palms down, and we're just going to gently transition into a happy puppy. So it's similar to child pose, but this time our hips stay above our knees, and we're aiming the chest towards the floor. So again, wherever you get to, and just release your head down so it's in line with your neck, or in line with your spine. With an inhale, gently reaching up, and we're going to come into pigeon pose. So this is bringing the right knee forwards to begin with. So you may or may not be familiar with this one. So pigeon pose, we want to try and bring our knee forward, so it can be in front of the hip or out to the side. We don't want it coming across the body. So then maybe, which way is going to be the best for this? So you're gently sitting down. So if this isn't there for you, you can just release that down. So almost like you're bringing your feet into 90-degree angles, your legs. Try and bring that back hip forward so we're not rolling too far, and flexing the ankles. If that one's not an option for you, you can always grab a cushion or another mat. So in your pigeon pose, if you need to, just pop in something under your hips if you're sat slightly higher. So just supported slightly. You're going to have blocks or books under your hands. So this one, you can really kind of add in to try and make it, so don't just avoid it if you find it a bit difficult. If it's painful, that's a different thing. But otherwise, kind of build yourself up, get yourself comfortable. If it is painful and you don't want to do it on your knee, you can always come into, it's the same stretch as our figure of 4, so lying on the back. So from here, we're bringing the leg up. So, in your pigeon pose, whichever variation you're using, so you can sit upright like a proud pigeon, or you can make a little pillow with your hands and rest down. Or equally, if you've got a cushion, on a cushion. So your focus on this is trying to have your front foot flexed, so that engages the muscles so we protect the knee joint. And trying to not roll over, so your front knee, your hips will want to sink down lower on that side, and we're trying to constantly make them level. Okay. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Staying as you are, or gently coming up, flexing the back foot, and trying to grab hold to come into a quad stretch. And coming forwards. This is optional, it's not available to everyone. Just, if you're not doing that, just stay in your pigeon for a moment longer. Good. Release that foot down. Bring some weight into your hands, tuck your back toes under, and we're just going to gently transition into a lunge. So we're stepping forwards with the right foot. To begin with, a low lunge, so just release the left knee back down, fingertips on the floor or sitting up. And just allow those hips to sink in and stretch out. So I normally do these very separately, but Joe Wicks, I noticed in one of his videos, I thought was really lovely, that we often do this and then we come into our hamstring stretch or our monkey pose. But as a warm-up, he was bouncing between the two, obviously being careful, but making that a more dynamic stretch, which I thought was just quite nice. So if you're working out, that's quite a nice one to do. Not for now, but generally, quite nice, because both of them are really nice stretches. Okay, and let's take this up into a higher lunge. So bring some weight into your hands, tuck the toes under, gently step that leg back in a bit. If you don't do this as a seamless transition, doesn't matter if you're a bit all over the place, have to stand up, get yourself back in, doesn't matter. Just come into your high lunge. So both feet facing forwards, hips forwards, and then sink back. And you should feel this stretch on the back of that leg. Lifting the arms up, big, opening the chest, opening the body up. Good, exhale. Hands to the floor. I want you to step both feet forwards. So coming into a forward fold and then just release forwards. Round your lower back. Maybe sway from side to side. And then we are going to stretch our hamstrings. So what I'd like you to do, there are different options here. Ooh. Sorry, that's Thomas's phone. Just ignore that for now. So your options are to hold behind your legs. So hold your big toes with your peace fingers, holding around the big toes, or try to get your hands under your heels. So you're bending your knees as much as you need to do any one of those. Whichever one, and then you want your chest to stick to your thighs. So bending forwards, bending the knees, chest is on the thighs, and then that stays on the thighs and doesn't move. So again, behind the legs, holding the big toes, or hands under the heels. And with your inhale, you're trying to lengthen your spine forwards. And as you exhale, trying to just lift the hips slightly higher, trying to gently straighten the legs. But you don't lift your chest off of the legs. So if you straighten the legs but end up with your chest away, come back into that position. So I want you to take a few breaths there. Try to release your head so there's no tension in your neck. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, trying to go a little deeper. And if you're holding onto the heels or the toes, use that as a lever to really try and pull against. You want your shoulders away from your ears. One more. And then gently release. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, all the way up. Big lift, really lengthen the body. Exhale, forward fold, all the way back down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the floor, step back into your plank. So we're just going through a little salutation before we do the other side. Lower yourself down to the floor. Inhale, opening and lifting that chest, big stretch. Exhale into down dog. And then this time, stepping forward with the left knee. So again, just taking your time. Your sides will be different, so do adapt for each side. So if you need to, pop in a little booster under the hip of the front leg, or just allowing that back knee. So I don't know if you can, so it's kind of 90 degrees with the toes flexed, and then trying to bring the back hip forward. So then you just feel that stretch on the inside, or in your pigeon pose, or lying on your back in heel. There's lots of options. So again, choosing to sit up or lower yourself down and trying to keep your hips level. And if you feel tension fading, then just stretch that back leg. See if you can sink a little lower into that position. keeping your front foot flexed, the ankle flexed, so your toes are coming back towards your knee. Stay there for 3 breaths. So your Ujjayi breath or your tiptoe breath. Good. Gently lifting up so you can stay as you are or flexing the back foot, reaching that foot towards you. Big stretch. So it's worth giving all this a go. We don't ever want any pain. I can't stress that enough. This is definitely not a power through it. And even as a PT, I never advise anyone to power through anything. But it's always worth giving it a go. If you think, oh no, I can't do that, maybe just try maybe with the other hand. Maybe if you've got your string from your strap from your yoga mat, just see if you can give it a go. So we're being flexible with our approach. So just because you weren't able to do it before or you don't think you could, doesn't matter. We're being adaptable. Good. From here, we're going to transition into our low lunge. So if you can, stepping forward to the left. Again, take as many little steps and changes as you need to. And then gently lowering your hips down. So our aim in life should not to be unbreakable, but instead we just aim to be flexible, adaptable, so we can change to crazy different situations that we find ourselves in. Good, gently tucking the toes under, coming up into your high lunge. So if you just come up from here, that's really working your legs hard. So if you want that, then go for it. Otherwise, taking a few steps, maybe shaking the legs out, and then coming up into your high lunge. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Opening the chest, taking your gaze up. Good. Once more. Hands down, stepping the feet forwards. So again, we're coming into our hamstring stretch, but before we do, just releasing forward. Stop tension in that lower back, so just release that out. Okay, and then we come into our hamstrings. So once again, holding behind the legs, holding the toes, holding the heels. But before you do that, bending the knees, stick your chest to your thighs. So there's no little pocket of air, there's nothing in there, and that stays that way. So whichever one you're doing, take in, hold. Inhale, we're trying to lengthen the spine. Exhale, trying to go a little deeper. And you might just move just a tiny bit each time. But just as the body gets used to the stretch, we can find more space. And really use your breath. Try to keep your shoulders away from your ears. And try to look between your legs rather than to your toes. Good. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release all the way down. Inhale, up. Big lengthen. Exhale, coming back into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back into plank. Lower yourself. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale, toes under, into your down dog. So this time I want you to step, I'm going to step my left foot forwards. So I'm going to come up and turn my feet to face the camera and come into a forward fold. So stepping forwards with whichever leg you need to so you can kind of still see what I'm doing or just adjust yourself. Basically come into this position. So we're going to do a wide leg forward fold. So we're going to do a couple. First of all, arms out wide, big reach in both directions. Allow a soft bend in the knees and you want your toes just turned in slightly. So we call it pigeon toe. And it just helps to kind of prevent us from slipping out. Arm stretch, lowering forwards. Releasing into your forward fold. So from here, if you can reach, you can try and grip the outsides of your feet or your heels, bending the elbows and try and stretch forwards. Or placing your hands between. Again, like I say, bending your knees as much as you need to, lifting your hips towards the ceiling. Release your head and imagine you're trying to get the crown of the head towards the floor. Try to keep your weight forwards into your toes so your hips are in line with your ankles rather than sitting behind. Good. Gently lift up slightly, placing your right hand onto the mat. So again, bending the knees as much as you need to, lifting up with the left. And if you can, taking your gaze up. With an exhale, lowering down and going to the other side. Releasing down. Sending the arms wide, protecting the lower back, coming up. This time, hands behind your back. So either holding the elbows or in prayer. And then we're just going to come into a forward fold again. Toes inwards, big inhale, exhale forwards. Stretching out that back. If you want to here, you can interlock your fingers behind your back and just allow the arms to fall. No ego, it doesn't matter. If your arms falling means that they're vertical, doesn't matter. It's wherever your edge is. Good. And then gently bring your hands to your hips. Inhale. Coming all the way up. Good. And then I want you to step whichever way you need to step back to the front of your mat. So I'm going to come this way. Reaching the arms up. Exhale forwards. Inhale, halfway in. Exhale, hands to the floor. Coming into plank. Lower yourself down. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, push back. Good. And then stepping forwards with your right foot. Coming to a low lunge. Untuck the back toes. And then we're coming into our monkey pose. So this is half splits or monkey. So we're trying to stretch the back of that front leg. So your hamstring. So you want to try and send your hips as far away from as you can, bring your toes towards you, including the little toe, tends to get left behind. So again, you should really feel this one. If you're flexible and want to, you can transition this into a splits option, but that's doesn't matter where you are, just doing whatever stretch you need to. And again, for this one, it can be nice to hold onto the wall, hold onto a sofa, you can have blocks under you. The main focus is this leg. Try to make sure that thigh is engaged. If you're not sure if it is, see your kneecap. If you engage the thigh, the kneecap will lift. Try and keep the breath deep with every exhale. Is there any more space? Good. Release the hands down. Step that leg back. Just stretching into elbows. We're almost done. Just one more side. Coming back up. Leg forwards. Again, into your monkey stretch. So finding where you need to. So holding on, sitting up, leaning forwards, or into full splits. Supported. Again, try to make sure that thigh is engaged. Breathing deeply. The little toes coming towards you. Your hips are going away from you. And I should say, if your leg's not straight, it doesn't matter. Guess what? It just doesn't matter. So if your stretch is here, but you can feel that on your hamstrings, that's fine. So I need to go a little further. But if you don't need to go as far, amazing. Go this far, you can still feel your stretch. And you're really trying to hold that into that kind of feeling. So if that goes, you need to get a little deeper. Good, once more. Breathing the weight forward, sending that leg back. This time, knees wide, rest in child pose. And if you wish to, instead of child pose, you can come back into the frog pose. So do one or the other, it doesn't matter which. So feet behind, if you're doing frog, feet behind your knees and coming down. Again, finding that deep stretch. So I feel that this quote may be from Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I haven't actually written that down on my little note here. But the quote is, the measure of a person's strength is not their muscular power, but their flexibility and adaptability. So that's where our strength lies. I quite like Arnie. I think he might have said that. He's a good one to say. Good. Whichever position you're in, gently coming back up. Bringing the knees in carefully. Crossing the legs. Lying down or seated into a comfortable position. It might be quite nice if you lie down just to bring your knees into your chest, round the other way. Whatever you need to do. And let's just have a few minutes breathing. Again, stay with me, don't run away. The nap time is the best bit. It's what it's all about. So finding your comfortable position. And as always, feel free to move around, do whatever you need to do. And then once you're in that, make a little intention with yourself. You're just going to be still. Just be still. You might want to fidget, you might want to move. But what happens if you don't? What happens if you don't? Nothing. Let's see what happens. So allowing your breath to fall into its rhythm. Slowly growing deeper. So I'd like you to do 10 breaths with your Ujjayi, counting 10 to 1. And then we're going to do 5 tiptoe breaths. So go with your own count at your own time. So Ujjayi, your ocean breath. If your mind wanders, just come back to your breath. So there's a lovely story that there's a tree, a big strong oak tree by the sides of a river. And there's a baby tiny reed that grows next to it. And the reed is in awe of this big strong oak tree. And asks the oak tree how it could possibly be as strong. Oak tree is quite vain with its strength. Never be as strong as me. I'm so solid. I've got deep roots. I can resist anything. The poor little reed was quite dejected because it's so small. It's moved by even a small breeze. Then one day the big floods come. The rivers burst their banks. The whole land is flooded. When the water recedes, you see that it's the small reed that still stands. The big oak tree has been washed far down the river. The oak tree may be strong, but it was rigid and unable to bend. The small reed may not be as mighty, but it was flexible and able to adapt to the change, to flow with the river, to bend and not break. Pausing with your breath, just allow your breath to come back to a natural pace. Breathing deeply into your stomach. Whether it's an intention or something to hold in your mind, try to keep your approach and your attitude flexible as everything around us changes. With your next inhale, big breath in, big breath out through the mouth. Just release any tension. If you're lying down, gently start to bring movement back. Fingers and toes, head side to side. Taking your time to stretch out or curl up and then roll in onto your right side. And push yourself gently to a seated position. Try to keep eyes closed or a soft gaze. And just relax into yourself. And then let's take our breath together. Inhale, stretching the arms, lifting up. Palms join together. Exhale, lower the hands in front of your heart. Bow your head. Breathe in normally. Thank yourself for coming to yoga. Namaste. Excellent. Yoo-hoo. Thank you for joining me, guys. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to do some hip stuff. So hips, opening up our hips, and dealing with all the emotion that we store in the hips and dealing with that and all the emotion that's kind of lumped on top of us at this weird stage. Okay, have beautiful starts to your week. Have lovely Mondays, and I'll see you tomorrow.